Good morning. This is Scott Jorgens from Endeavour Solutions. Today's webinar is on eOne. We have Brittany Pripanitsky to provide some of her favorites in talking about the speed and advantages of formatting filters, calculations, and performing subtotals. Brief chat about how people can access SmartLists from outside of GP and for those who don't have GP licenses, and a few caveats around that, and then ultimately merging SmartLists. For those that are new to Endeavour, 3 lines of business: advisory services, implementation and optimization of clients, and ongoing support for Dynamics GP ERP, Microsoft Dynamics 365 CRM, and Office 365 and all the cloud components. We have close to 40 consultants across Canada working out of key offices in Toronto, Halifax, Montreal, London, and Edmonton. Thank you for all our clients that are attending today. You can also reach us online at www.endeavorsolutions.ca and find our consultants on LinkedIn. So over to Brittany for her live demo. Brittany, I'll let you reintroduce yourself and take it from here.
Thanks, Scott. My name is Brittany. I've been with Endeavour for a couple of years now, but I want to talk about a few of my favorites when it comes today to eOne's SmartView and SmartList Builder. So let's hop into what we're going to cover today. So today we're actually going to cover, I want to talk about our speed. It can help us out with our speed of our SmartLists, even though we all love SmartLists to begin with. Sometimes we do find them a little slow. Some additional filters we can have with this product, the nice exportation skills we can have, the security, some of the calculations. We can also create calculated columns, and of course for those external users that may not go in and out of GP as much as some of us, that they can see our SmartList as well. So let's hop into it. So let's hop into GP here. So this is GP 2015, but our SmartView is actually right underneath where we would typically see our SmartList. We can create ourselves a shortcut up into this little blue toolbar up here if we don't always want to do the drop down, but let's hop into SmartView here and let's make it full screen. So this looks very similar to what we have in SmartList, but let's take a peek at how quickly I actually can generate something in difference to SmartList. So if I pull my payables transactions, if you notice it is loading here, but it will pull them at a much quicker speed than what I have in my SmartList. If you notice, it actually does time itself as well. I've pulled 808 payables transactions here in less than a second here, which is amazing for us because sometimes we're downloading huge amounts of data. We may not just have 800 transactions. We may have thousands of transactions, and we don't necessarily want to wait for it. So we do have that speed on our side. Okay. One of the nice things you do see that came up here is you do see that it sums at the bottom for me. So if you notice, I actually have a sum on my freight and tax and my current transaction amount. Now we have a couple of options for this, and we don't only have to see one, which is the nice part. So if you notice, this is my sum of all 808 lines. I can add another summary. I can add the average on here as well. I can continue adding, and I can add the total count. So how many did I have? 808. Okay, and then the last two I can add are my min and my maxes. Okay, of course I can see all, I can see one, I can see two, whatever my heart desires. I can also clear them if I think this is a little too much for me to see. Okay, I can clear all my summary items. Now you can put these onto any column as long as you right-click on the bottom and add those in for yourself. Okay, so those are super helpful. Now just like in SmartList, we can export these to Excel or CSV or PDF. which is really nice that we have the PDF option, which the PDF and CSV option, which we don't have inside of SmartList. So we can put it right out to a PDF. Instead of exporting it out to Excel and then printing it to a PDF printer, it will let me go straight to a PDF, which is really nice and handy. It just asks me whether I want this to be portrait or landscape. Okay, and that decision will be made based on the information that you're pulling out. Now, just like in GP, if I hit Excel here, it's going to ask me where I want to export this to. I tell it where I want to export to. I'm just going to hit throw it to my desktop for now. Okay. I get the fun green bar that goes across the screen to tell me it's actually exporting itself. And once it exports to Excel, of course, I can do anything I want with it. I can make another pivot table. I can do whatever I want. But with the new features that I have inside of here, we actually have to do less work inside of Excel, which is a nice part for us. So as you can see, I've put it out to Excel. Now, I could actually select only certain sections I want to go to Excel if I wanted to hand filter this instead of putting on an actual filter. So I could say, you know, I only want to talk about this transaction, and these transactions here. The transactions in which I highlight and I throw out to Excel, those are going to be the only transactions that export, or sorry, that don't export for me. Okay, so we can do those highlights for ourselves. I have too many spreadsheets open now. I can also invert that selection. I can select everything except for the ones that I had picked. Okay, so we have that option as well. So we have nice and fun select options. One of the other things I wanted to mention to you here is if I have Excel open, here. If I have Excel open here and I pick a line, I can actually just copy this whole field and paste it wherever I want just by copy, right-click and copy, or I can do my Control-C and Control-V. I can copy and paste this anywhere without having to first export to Excel. So I do have that option available to me as well. Okay, so as you notice, I can put my paste back. And of course, you can do that with your multiple selections as well. If I picked multiple here and I right-clicked and hit copy, I can paste that into an email or into Excel or into a Word document, wherever I want to go, wherever Microsoft product will essentially let you paste. Okay. So we do have those select options, and they can be quite handy because sometimes we're using this just to filter out some things, and we might find one transaction where we go, what happened here? And we might need to just export that one transaction. Okay. Now, as you notice, I have a limited amount of fields up in my SmartList right here, right now. My fields are actually a little bit different than what we would see in SmartList. My columns are actually on the right-hand side, and it's a simple drag and drop. So if I wanted to bring my batch number onto here, I drag and drop that batch number on, and I can drag and drop that batch number off at any given time. I can also drag and drop multiple fields. I could say that I wanted to see a couple fields at once. I would wanted to see my currency and my document discount amount. I can drag both of them on at the same time. So it helps us out there. So we can drag and drop. As I said, we can drag and drop those columns back. Just like we have in SmartList, I can change my sort order by ascend or descend by clicking on whichever one is up here. I can also move my columns around in whatever order I want. Instead of using those arrows we see in SmartList to go up and go down, we can actually just drag and drop our columns around, because I could say I would like my batch number to be next to my document date, and I just drag that batch number from the very right-hand side to somewhere in the middle, and vice versa. If you're also noticing on my columns here, you'll see a little filter. I can actually put a filter on here as well. Instead of a little bit differently than what we're using inside of SmartList, I can select one or I can select multiple, similarly to what we do inside of Excel. I can select just the ones that I'm looking to see. So maybe I only want to see payments and credit memos. Or I can select all if that's my heart's desire as well. So I have those filters. I can also set multiple filters. I could have a filter on my document type and have a filter on my vendor ID. I could say I only want to see my central so that it brings down those all together. Now, I might have put all these filters on and now I go, I don't care about these filters anymore. I can clear all these filters by using my top up here. If you notice, I use my filters up here. You can use your edit filters over here, and you can add as many filters as you need to. Now, unlike SmartList, you're not limited to 5 filters. I can add as many filters as I need to. So I can keep going on. So I could have 6 or 10 or whatever the case may be, which is a nice feature inside of there. But as usual, this is just a grab of data at once. So if we have another transaction that we forgot to post and then we posted that transaction, we do have this little refresh button here. That refresh button will re-pull all that data for us. Now, you may go through all this work and put all the columns that you want to see on here and put them in the order you want to see them in, and you make it look absolutely beautiful. Just like in SmartList, we can actually add a new SmartList for ourselves, which I'm going to do here. I'm going to add a SmartList, and I'm going to name it an awesome SmartList here. But one of the nice things that we have inside of here is we can actually specify this down to a specific user or a specific group or a specific role, instead of just the option to either myself or everyone, which you would typically see in SmartList. I can actually put this out to maybe just myself and one other person. So I'm currently logged in as SA, and I only want TRA 14 to be the other user who sees this, which is nice. In this case, maybe we only want people who work in payables to see this, but not everyone who works in accounting to see it, or vice versa. Okay. I can also put this out by my role. So these are based on your security roles that are set up inside of GP. So as I said, if you wanted just your AP clerks to see it, or maybe your accounting manager to see it, you can select your roles to do this. Okay, it's completely up to you which way you do this, whether you do it via users or you do it via roles. So right now I've selected 2 users, which is myself and TRA 14. And once I hit save, it will add my new SmartList here, and it will only be accessible to myself and TRA 14. So if you notice, once I hit add, my awesome SmartList populated on the left-hand side there. So when I exit out and come back in, that SmartList will be there for me all the time. Now, I've created this SmartList, and it's beautiful, or at least I think it's beautiful. I might actually want to add some columns together, which is traditionally what we would do inside of Excel. I might want to add or multiply some accounts together. So if you notice, I have a column here called freight and tax. And what I've done is I've added the freight amount plus the tax amount. So if I go and take a peek here, and I add my freight amount over here, let's add my freight over here, and I add my tax amount, which is down here at the bottom. I would typically have to export this to Excel to be able to add my freight amount column and my tax amount column. I've added a calculated here for myself that automatically adds for me my freight and tax. I can add as many of these calculated columns as I would like to, and they can be dragged and dropped off this SmartList as I choose. Okay. Inside of these calculated columns, I can add, subtract, multiply and divide, and concatenate. I could put 2 fields together and make them 1. Okay. So that can be super helpful to us. It is inside of the actual builder portion, so it is in my options, and I would go into modify. And once I'm in that modify, you'll see that I have this little calculator button called calculations. And you can see I've added this field here called freight and tax. So if you notice, if I edit this, you'll notice that I've taken my payables transaction freight amount and I've added my tax amount to make one. Of course, I could have multiplied these together. I could have subtracted one from the other. Any field that exists, I can add, subtract, multiply, divide. Okay. So just to show you where that can happen. If you also notice while I'm in this SmartList Builder, I've created a calculated field, but sometimes we have two SmartLists that we want information from one and the other. Now that can be super helpful to us. So if we pick, oops, one second here guys. If we picture that I have my payables transactions here, but I might want to see some stuff that actually exists only on my vendor's SmartList here. So if you notice down here, I have this user-defined 2, which even if I wanted to, I couldn't pull this onto my payables transactions inside of SmartList. But I might want to see this with my payables transaction. I might not want to export both SmartLists out to Excel and then actually merge them together. I can merge them together inside of SmartView here. So what I do is I'm going to go back into my payables transaction SmartList here. And what I can do is, if you notice, inside of my modify, I've actually added two SmartLists together. I've said I've wanted my payables transaction SmartList and my vendors SmartList. So now I can have that user-defined 2 for me. So if I scroll up here, you'll see that I now have my user-defined 2, which is on my vendor card itself, not on the vendor transaction. And now you can see my user-defined 2. We can add almost any two SmartLists together. However, any two SmartLists you merge together, they have to have a common field. In this particular case, it happened to be my vendor ID. But any one you add, it has to have a common field that we can put together all together for itself. Okay. So we can have as many of those attached together, and you can create your own SmartList. A common one that you would see is we might actually want to see all of my distributions from payables. So I might want to mix my financial account transactions with my payables because I might have broken out those distributions multiple times. Or maybe I want to see my inventory, some inventory user-defined fields with my inventory transactions just to help me out with doing some reconciliations, or even just some data integrity, which we might want to take a peek of what's been going on inside of our system. Okay, so those are some of the nice things we can to build our SmartList. Now once we're using our SmartList, we do have some additional options as well. If you notice in my options tab here, I also have what we call a find panel, which I find extremely helpful. It kind of works like my own personal search. So if I put in here, I put in my own name because that's my user-defined field, is it will search in any one of these columns to take a peek as to where I might see that. Or if we look at, I might put in SA, you'll notice that it went in and looked for anything that had SA inside of it. So if you notice, it's actually in my batch number and it highlights it in a nice yellow for me. So we can turn that on and off as our please. We can leave it on all the time, or we can turn it off. I like it. It's like your own personal Google function. We also have this auto filter row. So we talked about the filters previously that we have inside of our columns. We can actually tell it I want to search for something particular inside of a particular row. So I could say in my batch number, I would like SA. So if you now notice, I put that filter in here into my auto filter row, and I now have SA. I have, of course, just like my filters that I had in my columns up here before, I can have as many of these filters as I want. I could put one in each row if I wanted to really find something that I'm looking for. Okay. Now we also have this date filter mode. It can be helpful when we're looking for things in a particular date. When you use your auto filter, you can choose whether you see this via calendar or you're going to see it in a list format. And that's really just a user preference as to which way you prefer to see it. Now, we do have the same options we have before. If we want to use a filter in here, we can go earlier this year, prior this year. We can pick a particular date. We can pick a particular section of dates, okay, all in which your heart desires. Now, you might put all these filters on and say, I built this beautiful list, and I made some additions, and I love it, and I want to continue to have it there. Just like in SmartLists, we do have this edit, and of course we can save it and change which users can see it. We can also change which companies can see it. If you're running multiple company databases, you might want to see it in more than one company database. Which brings me into another part, is we also said that we could add two columns together, or add and subtract columns together, or even add two SmartLists together. I can add more than one company's data to one SmartList. So if I had multiple companies, I could see my payables from all of my companies at once. Let's say I had company A, company B, and company C. I could actually merge company A, company B, and company C together into one SmartList to see all of my payables, or all of my cash, or all of my inventory items, maybe if I'm swapping inventory in and out of each company, which is a very nice feature, so we don't have to export that SmartList from each single company and go back and forth. Now, we actually launched this one from inside of GP. We could also have users that are not using GP, or maybe they just want to see a selection of data. So one of the nice features is we can actually have SmartView without a GP user. What will happen is they will open up SmartView, and they will see the screen just like this, and they will start it from their start menu here. And they'll see the SmartList in which they have security access to, which you've given them access to, all or none, or depending what they have. And they'll be able to see these SmartLists, and they can add the functions at the bottom. They'll be able to drag and drop the columns. They'll be able to refresh their data. However, the parts that they will not see is inside the options. They won't be able to build them for themselves. They'll see the SmartLists that are already built for them. They will still be able to export to Excel and CSV and PDF, all of these things in which they want to do. And they don't have to have a seat inside of GP, which is a nice function, just for that we don't take up seat counts, just for people to do queries or just to do some data dumping. Now, it does take a SQL Cal license, and of course you can talk to anyone on our sales teams to help you out with that portion. And if you have any other questions, or you want to see a more in-depth portion of this, please feel free to contact anyone inside of our sales, or contact Scott himself.
So next steps, talk to your consultant, or give sales team a call. Endeavour's team is happy to help you. Steve Ewing is throughout our website, and his information is contacted here. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a wonderful day, and we appreciate your time today.